Hi, this is Lindsay Muller, and this is my sharing video on JSON. So a very brief explanation is that it stands for JavaScript Object Notation, and it's just a way to store and exchange data. It's also language independent, which just means that it can be used with any programming language. It's not specific to any one, or JavaScript, which a lot of people think. The way that it works is it stores data in name-value pairs, and it can store lots of different types of data, like numbers, strings, booleans, etc. So basically, an example would be like first name, Lindsay, age, 27, hometown, Boise. Those are all the name value pairs we should all be familiar with by now. So you can create objects with JSON that contain more than one name value pairs. And it also supports arrays of multiple objects. So the very first example that I have is pretty basic, and it's just creating objects using name and value pairs. So that's how all of this was done. So the code for this is just right here. Like I said, it's pretty simple. I just created an object or a variable. Actually, I created a variable that has then three name value pairs right here. And then to access it, you just use the variable name and then the name of the value. So the first example I just did document.write to display it to the screen, and then I used the name of the variable. So this one is object1 dot the name of the value that I want. So object1 dot person, object1 dot name, object1 dot age, and it's going to display the value correlating to that name. And like I said, I just did three separate objects here, and then I combined them all in this one final example I pulled from each of these different objects, and you can see that here. So that one's pretty simple. But then the second example here gets a little more interesting, and it also uses a little bit of Ajax to update the page after it retrieves the JSON file. So this is my JSON file. It's pretty simple. It just has three name value pairs in it. And the way that this one's working, I guess I can show up first, is that when you click the button, I should refresh it. When you click the button, it's gonna, sorry, wrong button, update these, put information in each of these rows or headings, I guess is what it is. Sorry, I don't know what I'm keep clicking the wrong button here. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you first load, and then when you click the button, it adds these three values, I guess. So the way that this one's working, down here, so it's just a button that on click calls this load function, and this is up here. It's calling this load function, which is it's just calling that, getting that JSON file. It's using the variable and assigning it to the, or assigning the file to the variable. And then a lot of this stuff is just required to make it work. I think specifically, so this is just making a new HTTP request, and then I believe this try statement is for like Firefox and Chrome, maybe even Safari for Macs. And then this one is for Internet Explorer. And then this is just in case something crazy happens. So that's all that's doing. And then, so first it's making a new HTTP request. That's what that variable at the top was doing. And then from here, it's going to update the page. So it's creating this object. So another JSON object, and then it's going to use the JSON.parse sorry, I lost my train of thought. So when all goes well, then what's actually going to happen is it's creating the JSON object and then setting that equal to this JSON.parch XML HTTP. That was my new request variable. And then adding this, whatever the response is. So it's just putting the JSON file from earlier into this object variable. So then to display, it's all getting saved. That whole file is getting saved as this variable object. And then to retrieve the data out of this object, we're just going to get each of the values the same way by the name that we had assigned them. So then it's just going to be object.name, object.title, object.age. So hopefully that made sense. So it's just putting the file into this object. So we're back to how I did the first example, in that we have a variable that has these values in it, and that we can access these values by the same way as before, the variable name dot value, variable name dot value. And then the last little bit here, this is the Ajax part that's just opening a connection to the server, specifying the type of request, the location of the file, and then whether or not it's asynchronous. And then it's just sending it to the server. So it's actually fairly simple. Like I said, a lot of it is, it looks more difficult because a lot of it is just stuff that you have to have. It does work right. But once you kind of understand the name value pairs and how to access them and how to parse the file, how to access the file, then it's really not so bad. That's it. Thanks for watching.